Thank you so much. I must admit that maybe Pastor TK got threatened when he saw another TK coming up on the screen, and that is Tsulofelo. So thank you. That's a TK from Bloemfontein, and you might find that very interesting for your sake. I am saying this to acknowledge and I appreciate each one of you who have joined. And then Pastor Nilian James is also a CTS student. So he is here with us. And I would love to go through each one of your names. And I see a lot of people from Uganda, Kampala. And I'm excited because in the next 2 weeks I'll be in Uganda. So it's quite interesting to see that. And also Rwanda, by the way, I'll be in Rwanda also in a couple of weeks. But all that to say, I'm just trying to calm myself down. You would assume someone like me who speak and preach every Sunday, you would not be intimidated by an auspicious occasion such as this one. But I must tell you, this one has gotten me up early at as far as 4 o'clock, trying to think and imagine how this will roll out. So, having said all of that, I just want to thank you all for the privilege. I'm gonna share my screen and trust that before I continue, everything is as clear as possible. And yeah, here we go. I will do that. All right. Mr. TK, before I go further, would you please confirm that the screen is clear and you're only seeing what you need to see?
Yes.
Wonderful. Brothers and sisters,
Okay.
I would like to start today on a different note and say, I wish I didn't have to use words like race, black, white, to make sense of the concepts and definitions in this presentation. I do hope, however, that by the time our meeting is over, we will at least embrace ourselves and embrace each other as human beings. Talking about race, it is crucial to state that while race has gained prominence as a category during the colonial and Enlightenment period, modern scholarship recognizes that race is a social construct and it's not a biological reality. Race is best understood as a historical contingent classification system that was created to serve as a social, political, and economic agenda, out of which the word racism was created. The concept race is one of the humanity's most consequential intellectual errors, the legacy of which continues to shape societies this day. It arose from a combination of curiosity, economic exploitation, and a desire for power. We must acknowledge the term's profound harmful origin and resist the temptation to treat it as immutable biological truth or even gospel truth. Rather, I advocate for a continued education about its social construction and the necessity to replace its divisive logic with an emphasis on our shared humanity and moral equality. This classification by race allowed the annexation of innocent colors to mean something so dehumanizing as black and white. It is from this background that you and I have to wrestle with what does diversity mean. If we didn't have the connotations allocated to black and white, you and I didn't have to struggle with what diversity should mean. But today, you and I, we first have to define words in order to use them. What does diversity mean, you ask? Diversity, it refers to the presence of differences within a given setting. It is fundamentally a demographic concept, describing varieties along dimensions such as race, gender, culture, language, or belief. Diversity is quantitative because it asks how many different people from how many backgrounds are present in this institution. It is typically measured through numbers, statistics, and representation. An example would be if an institution has 30% persons from West Africa, 30% from East Africa, 30% from Southern Africa, and maybe 10% from elsewhere in the world, that institution can be said to be truly African or truly diverse. In other words, diversity is about who is in the room. Diversity is an important necessity or a very necessary element for both ministry and businesses in the global village we live in. The world is interconnected, made out of histories, not just one history. South African realities are not all that there is, by the way. But South African realities, in concert with other realities from elsewhere, is what we call human realities. Therefore, it is imperative to diversify not just people in our ministries and businesses, but even our income streams these days must be diversified. From diversity, what is transformation? Transformation goes far beyond demographic representation. Unlike its former cousin, diversity, it's not quantitative, it's qualitative. It's a qualitative concept rooted in profound change, beginning with one's attitude, beliefs, values, and ultimately extending to systems, policies, and relationships. Transformation means that the structures, cultures, and individuals are changed so that dignity, mutual flourishing, and justice are made possible for all. In other words, transformation is a change in me so that I can truly live and thrive with people from other locations, languages, communicating humanity to each one of them as I would to people I consider my own people. An example of this would be, again, I'm going to use the word black. A black man who is no longer threatened, suspicious, or resentful towards white colleague, who is also able to communicate respect, empathy, and dignity to that white colleague exactly as he would to another black colleague. Such a black man embodies transformation. In other words, transformation is about how we treat and value everyone in the room. Whereas diversity, it's about who is in the room. Transformation, therefore, requires the colonizer and the colonized to confront the consequences of colonization. The one must change his position of needing to be superior in order to feel valuable. And the other must change from feeling and being less than in order to survive. Both these are inhumane positions, and they continue to rob life and our humanity. Brothers and sisters, transformation invites us to commit in how we best, or how I can best treat you as you deserve to be treated, without allocating to you an unearned privilege simply because of the color of your skin. Equally, transformation invites us to commit in how best I can treat you without stripping you off of your value simply because you are darker than I. Maybe we need to move from just definitions and put this into context and put this into practice. I'm a practical theologian, you see. If it's not practical, it doesn't make sense. A critical insight is that diversity alone does not guarantee transformation. In many instances, Our governments have tried to aim for transformation, but they've used the vehicle of diversity, hoping if we diversify, will ultimately transform. Many institutions have not transformed. They've tried to diversify. It is entirely possible to have a racially, again, there's that word race. I dislike that word. It is entirely possible to have a racially and cultural diverse institutions where they are diversified, but because they're not transformed, people still don't trust each other. Stereotypes remains unchallenged. What are the stereotypes? You can mention ones from your context, but I can mention one from my context, where in my context, the stereotypes goes like all white people are racist, all black people are lazy, all colored people. Some of you don't even know what colored people are because they don't exist except in South Africa. All colored people are drunkards. All Indians are crooks. If these stereotypes remain unchallenged, there's no way we can talk about transformation. We can talk about diversity, that we have so many Indians, so many Chinese, so many blacks. And best of all, communication remains segregated. It's still they and us. And the power still is unequally distributed. Historical wounds are left unhealed. See, what I've described is the consequence of diversity without transformation. A shallow cosmetic change that simply celebrates the difference without altering relationships, nor the systems or the hearts. In South Africa again, it is a rainbow picture we were sold and we bought it. I'm aware that I'm talking to varied groups of leaders here. But for those of you who are theologically inclined like I am, we should refuse to accept this theological narrative that seeks to imprison and separate us from the Creator as if He did not create us in His image. What is black about me, by the way? And why is everything black associated with all things negative? Funny enough, when I read scriptures, I can quote Isaiah chapter 1, verse 18. I don't get the fact that, or the idea that sin is black. Rather, the color of sin, according to the scripture, is red. Scarlet and crimson, the Bible says. But why then do I have hymns? And I'm so glad I've got people from Lesotho here who understand the language of Sesotho much better. It's a language that I grew up also singing or using. Why are some of your hymns so degrading? I'm thinking of a hymn that says, if I've spoken tongues, I'll explain to you. That simply means black sinners, they return from that river white or with whiteness. Why should that even be part of our songs? Why should black and white be seen as negative and positive? Philosophically, economically, psychologically, we must undo the damage that this evil wolf clothed in sheepskin has done. Yes, socially, even our music, not just gospel music. Our music must respond to the call. We must heed maybe that prophetic song by Claudius Afolabi. We call him Labai Safre in 1988. You remember that song? Something inside so strong. You remember that song? Yes. There's a verse in his song that says, brothers and sisters, when they insist we are just not good enough. Check here. When we know better, we must look them in the eye and tell them we're going to do it anyway. See, the reason I reject the Rainbow Nation picture is because the colors of the rainbow, they represent a constant separation. They celebrate diversity, but not transformation. Let us avoid using the rainbow as a definition of our humanity. For God's sake, we are created in the image of one God, not many gods. So, as such, we are human expressing God in varied expressions, not the other way around. I implore you, to consider the following. Diversity simply describes the presence of difference. Transformation, it describes a change of system, relationships, and individuals. Diversity speaks of demographic and quantitative. Transformation speaks of qualitative and moral. Diversity simply asks who's present in the room. Yet transformation talks about how we engage with those in the room. Diversity can exist without authentic change. Transformation requires authentic change in attitude, structures, and relationships. Diversity often ends in representation, whereas transformation continues towards reconciliation, equity, and shared humanity. Now, that's where we've been. But if we are to do justice to transformational leadership, it has to get to action. Transformation requires a change of heart and mind so that you can engage with others from the same respect and empathy as you would with people you call your own. You can resist the temptation to project anger, suspicion, or stereotypes. You can see the image of God in every person, regardless of their tribe or language. This is transformation because it's not only structural or demographic, but it's deeply personal, moral, and spiritual. It requires confronting your own wounds, your inherited trauma and fears, and then replacing them with grace, honesty, and commitment to a shared, flourishing life of peace. In this sense, transformation is the practice of living in the present where the barriers of history no longer determine the worth of another human being. Justice and forgiveness are the expression of transformed lives. I'll leave that on the screen for a moment. You and I have lived long enough to have heard, to have experienced the first black. I argue today, maybe the term should be the first black and only. And I'll tell you why. There's indeed many celebrated firsts. The first black CEO, the first black university president, the first black bishop, the first black prime minister, or the first black corporate executive. These figures often are highly symbolic, representing a moment of breakthrough or even of transformation. Of course, you know who I'm talking about. Your Barack Obama as the first black president of the United States. Your Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka as the first woman deputy president in South Africa. Your Kenneth Shelnut, one of the first black CEOs of the Fortune 500 company. You know who I'm talking about. The list can go on and on. However, very often these appointments are singular rather than systematic. They do not lead to institutional replication or diversity in leadership pipelines. They occur in moments of external pressure, after civil unrest, institutional failure, or diversity mandates, rather than a natural fruit of transformation. Well, This has led to what scholars sometimes call representational diversity without structural change. Oh, how I would love to hear stories of the second, the third, the fourth, the 100th. Hey, up until I don't need to count. And maybe before I move to the next part, the idea of the first black has challenging impacts and consequences. Because ever since, and many of those companies that have the first, it's the first and only. You've never had a second one after that, nor the third one after that. We've never had another woman as a president, as a vice president or president in South Africa, for that matter, ever since we have the first one. What is that telling you, subtly or even loudly? America has never had another black president. They've had many more elections. It somehow communicates something called there is only one space on the table. Historically, the opportunity for black leadership in historical white or what you call exclusionary institution has been so scarce, so hard-won, and so fragile that the first black leader is socialized into a defensive posture. Yes, they may feel chosen but conditional. If they fail, it proves the narrative of racially inadequate. While if they succeed, they risk being seen as exceptional and non-replaceable. As a result, they develop what you call survivalist mindset, protect their place on the table, for there's no guarantee of a second chance for they themselves or for anyone else. Consequently, any potential successor or challenger who resembles them, particularly another black colleague, is perceived not only as an ally, but as a threat to scarce access. Well, this scarcity mentality we are very familiar with, isn't it? It's a legacy of centuries of exclusion and structurally created to do what? To ensure that it is not an inherited flaw of individual leader, but a system that tolerates only one. The truly transformative black leader, allow me to use that term, must resist the temptation of scarcity and instead create a pathway for others. He or she must refuse to collude with the system that tolerated or that only tolerates one. This demands courage. The risk of one standing for the sake of building a pipeline of future leaders. It requires forming allies or alliances, if you would, create mentorship opportunities, and speaking openly about succession. In fact, if you're going to become anything first, ensure that your first day at the work, you have already identified who will succeed you. If you don't do it, the system will not allow. The system is not created for another. It also requires an institution willing to listen to such a leader and to share power. Otherwise, even the most courageous black leader will be co-opted and neutralized. This is where the next frontier of leadership of transformation lies. Not merely in placing a single black face on the table, but systematically breaking open the table to welcome the second, the third, the fourth, the 100th. This not being the case, it is a matter of self-destruction. Come, I tell it to you as I would, to say if you leave them long enough by themselves, they say these blacks will eat each other alive. How is it that we've now become the defenders of the very same system that somehow oppressed us. We keep out our brothers and sisters because we've made it, haven't we? I want to land the plane. To this point, as a black man, again, I feel ashamed even to use and describe myself as black before I could be a human being. However, because that's a language you understand and we've come to understand, allow me to use it one more time. As a black man, I know I'll be transformed when I can live and communicate humanity to a white man exactly as I would to another black man. Then we can together become human beings again. When I say communicate, it's not just to say it. If I can embrace, live with, share with, uplift, lead, that is not merely tolerance. That is redemptive transformation. It requires courage, vulnerability, and the deep trust that true humanity can be restored beyond the barriers of history, economic, religious, or otherwise. The only black leader becomes those who threaten their place. It is indeed a byproduct of scarcity of opportunities and institutional tokenism, psychological trauma of oppression, an unchanged system that manipulates the first black leader into defending the very same structures that excluded them. Therefore, I want to rest my case this morning to say diversity is not transformation. Nor is transformation diversity. I thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kaswa, for raising a lot of thought-provoking conversation this morning. And friend, I'm expecting a serious interrogation this morning. I will be disappointed if we are silent. I will be disappointed because the issue put before us this morning, it needed to be interrogated, not just to say things for saying sake. I believe this is the leadership forum. And this is what this platform is all about. It's not a place to vomit everything. It's a place to engage and have a robust discussion on this subject matter. And what Dr. Caswell, he has touches on many issues this morning. Among many of these issues has to do with the issue of even DEI, because he speaks to this. Because if you look at diversity, DEI today, before it became DEI, started from diversity, which the original intended purposes have been violated and advantage have been taken into a different level. Anyway, I expect us to look into that as we engage with him this morning on this subject matter. Even this speaks to the issue of BE in South Africa that we're all familiar with. As he was presenting, my mind was just rattling to say, oh, wow, okay, there's a lot we can unpack here. Well, thank you, Dr. Caswell, for raising and stirring dust this morning. And we have to settle it down and relate it even to our context, our society, even ministry that we are doing. Because also this reflects even some of this, our ministry setup. For those of us who are in in the pastoral ministry. So I don't want to take the show. And I know that some of us already, we have our head is spinning, and we want to just get to it. So I've seen hands already without even asking for those who have comments. And I am not surprised that Dr. Moiti, because if you look at, I will encourage us to look at the comments on the platform. There's been some very good comment on the platform, but we will refer to some of them as well. So the floor is open to engage and interact and ask questions, make comments. So Dr. Moiti already raised up his hand. So let me say, Dr. Moiti, go for it.
No, thank you so much, TK, and thank you so much again to you, our brother Caswell. I don't even know where to start, but all that I can say is, my brother, you have been brief and straight to the point. And as you were presenting, a lot was happening inside me, because I was asking myself, okay, now what? And I mean, the issues that you pointed out, that we see and experience, and that sometimes we unfortunately even support and promote. I think some of the problems that we need to face head on, because I believe what you are saying to us is these are the experiences, these are the things that we are part of, and the question is, what are we doing? Like you mentioned that transformation is about ourselves. It starts with us, and my belief is that if we are transformed, it is our responsibility to help those that are around us to also transform. And personally, this is a challenge that I'm presenting. For me, as a Mosotho, I see a lot of historical baggage that we've carried along with us, and still affects us. It still affects us as human beings, because I am a human being before I am a Mosotho. That has to be very, very important to me. And these are some of the things, and some people realizing that we are so much attached to some of these things, they actually use them to destroy us as people. So what I'm saying is, as a person, as a human being, I feel I'm already responding to what I should be in terms of transformation. And it is my prayer that all of us here in this platform should be feeling the same. Thank you so much, brother, for this powerful presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Moiti. Thank you for your comments, your feedback, your sense of appreciation. Before I go to the chat, but I still want to encourage every one of us to go through the chat so that we have a sense of, appreciation to others' feedback and comment. Brother David from Zambia, please, right on.
Thank you, sir, for that profound presentation. Uh, I've been a follower of Steve Bant Biko and Malcolm X, and it's like saying, the way the system is structured, it's almost like asking for peace in the absence of justice. And I refer this to what is really happening in Zambia between the current president and the former president. And on face value, people may think, well, maybe the family is being difficult and all that kind of thing. But I think what their family is asking for is they're asking for justice. And the government is asking for image building. So there cannot be real peace in the absence of justice. And I think it should start from there, whereby you stand up and say, look, what I need is justice. Treat me as a human being, value me as I am, not on the basis of my color, on the basis of my status and things like that. But I think when I look at what has been happening, whether you look at the US, maybe even in South Africa as a good example, there cannot be genuine integration if we are not spiritually free at the individual level. We cannot genuinely integrate if we are not spiritually free at the individual level. So for me, the question is, how has doctrine really affected the way we look at ourselves, even as Africans? Because I believe that self-determination, self-determination should be the core. First and foremost, I must ask myself, who am I in the image of God? Who am I? Doesn't matter what race, but who am I as an individual in the image of God? When I know who I am, then it becomes easier to integrate, because I feel independence has actually messed it up. Because the moment we become independent, we always want to integrate, but individually, I am not free spiritually, and I have a distorted image of myself. Because when you look at before independence, for instance, you see this being militant, being, the self-determination in us is so much there. Even in the US, you saw people wanted to have that self-determination. But the moment they became independent, we become relaxed because we feel we are one, and yet we are not one, because individually, spiritually, at the individual level, we are not free. I don't know, what is your comment over what I've put across. Thank you so much. But otherwise, this is a very deep presentation which needs us to really reflect and see how we can recalibrate, and bring about real justice, so that being one is really genuine. Thank you so much.
So I was hoping you were making a comment, because majority of your presentation also was a comment, and you threw me a lifeline by asking what's my comment. So I'll take that invitation, my brother David, and I'll make a joke first to say, listen, your former president is also our president. After all, Zambia is the capital city of South Africa. But anyway, that's a joke. Um, you may not like what I'm about to tell you. Independence from what? What is this that we celebrate as independence all over Africa? Independence from what? I grew up in the farm, contrary to popular belief. And I'll tell you a story about that when visitors come, I may have shared this story in this platform, but I'll say it again. When visitors come, as a little boy, I'll be told to go catch a chicken and go tie it for my mother or somebody else to come and later on slaughter it and cook for the visitors coming. But as a boy, as you know, I wouldn't just do that. We'll take the chicken, tie it, and then do what experiments boys could do. We'll start kicking that chicken And then we discover a chicken can fly. As we kick it, the chicken will try to fly away from these kicks that we are inflicting on it. But after a while, something is happening. We're having fun as boys to see this chicken fly away and come back down, because generally we don't know chickens can fly. But something happens in the chicken's brain, if it does have a brain. After a while, it flies and flies, try to fly away, to only realize it's bound. And you know what we do after a while? We lose it, kick it. It will not fly far. It will not run away, even though it's free. I want to challenge leaders in this platform for us to interrogate, like we did with transformation and diversity this morning. What is freedom? In fact, what is democracy? Why are we even defending democracy? And I'm not going to try to suggest a new way of leadership or governance, but I think we owe it to our generation to offer them not what they want, but what they need. We owe it to our generation not to be part of the system that we still are against. Right now, it looks like we're fighting each other and we're just going to eat each other up. How come we have endless wars in the continent, and yet we've got excellent leaders amongst ourselves? You've had some excellent leaders coming through on this platform. And then you look at the outcomes of our respective countries, the very same countries which we ask, who decided these countries must become countries? And so, Brother David, it's not an appreciation from my side. Solving what's on top when structurally we have not changed anything does not satisfy me. I wish we could engage deeper and say what can fundamentally change. And truth be told, we only have so much time, so much resources. But I'm wondering, right there in your corner, right there in my corner, you remember that hymn that says, why don't you shine in that corner where you are? What can be changed? Over to you, Chair.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Let's move to, I will come back to my comment, but thank you. So we have Pastor James from Malawi.
Yes, thank you so much, Brother Caswell. It's really provoking and challenging. You talked about being practical. As I was hearing you sharing, what came into my mind is the home setup, the family setup. Because if transformation cannot affect our home, our relationship in our homes, it is very difficult to apply it somewhere. I'm looking at how we grow up in the home and what we were taught by our forefathers about the relationship between husband and wife. That's why even today you find that us men are kind of have much control in the home, though sometimes we don't see it like that. But we find that the woman's place in the home sometimes is not in a way that it is transformational. So my question was, how do we help ourselves in the home that a woman is free in the home where the husband is a transformed husband, that they are able to give them reward to things that happen in the home? Because even these divorce issues, sometimes they come because the man has got more power than the woman. It also flows in the church. You find that in some of the churches, women are not given opportunity to lead because in our mind, we think that a woman has a place somewhere, they cannot be in the leadership. So I'm looking at those things, that how can we, because we can be talking about changes up there or transformation in other places, but we forget where we're coming from, because our home also has been affected much by what our forefathers went through without the knowledge of the scriptures, and it has been imparted in most of us. So when we enter into the home, we are spiritual, but in our relationship in the home, that area of transformation, that a woman is free, a woman can also make certain decisions, not because they want to usurp the power, but because they are also part of the contribution in the home. So I'm looking at that. How do we bring changes in that area? Because it's very, very important for us to start where we are. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I think Dr. Caswell, we have a couple of hands. So I want to make sure that we, for the sake of time, is that okay with you?
More than okay. I spoke short so that there can be a conversation.
Yeah. So I think let's know other questions, then you can tie everything together, right? Is okay?
Good. More than okay.
Okay. No. Let's give Reverend Ryan Bongeri. Yeah. Please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to make a comment. I worked in a country called Haiti for about a year or so. And during that time of my work, I remember when I showed up, most people saw my name. They were not sure where this expatriate was coming from. They thought maybe I was white. It was very clear. People were shocked that I looked like all the people in the country. And there were many assumptions about me. Oh, she's their color, so she can eat this. She can drink this. She can go to this place. She can go to that place. And I remember, because I've grown up in Uganda, where we are all the same color, we don't have a lot of racist issues, I ended up using that confidence, and I've been born again all my life in church, serving Jesus and just living a life of freedom and value that has been awarded to me by the Lord, and being surrounded by good men that did not see me just as a girl or a black girl, but as a human being with worth, with value. And I ended up thriving in my work and doing extremely well. I remember the website of my organization always had a story about what we had done in the community, how we had impacted. And one of those days we sit with some of the Christians, because the organization was Christian, and we're talking about it, and people are assessing, why is Rian very successful in this role and in this country? And people said, you see, some of us come from places where you judge by your character, by your race and color. For her, she has just come to work. She just seems to understand that she's just a Christian woman who has come to serve the community. And so, back to the point this gentleman who has spoken before me just made, it's very important that the body of Christ and Christians do not get caught up in the jargon and the fluff that the world is trying to put as diversity, as race, as what defines you and what defines me, and whose power is it, and which country are you from, so you're more powerful than I am. And we've had jokes even made and things, and I feel like it displeases the heart of God when we begin to value ourselves by which country are you from, how much do you have, what's your race, what's your color, even how many degrees do you have? I do a women's ministry where I deal with women who have 0 to their name. No, they live in a cardboard. That's home. Are they less valuable than you because you drove a Mercedes-Benz? No, in God's eyes, that's still the image of God. And so the importance for us to go back home and go back to church and actually bring that value in the real sense to each individual child, to each individual woman, to each individual. So when you go into a workplace, when you walk into the CEO, you treat them with the same respect as you treated the gate man at the gate. You treat Reverend TK here with the same respect you treat Rian, a girl from Uganda, because you know you are already content in God. So such a very, very personal topic to me, and I appreciate Reverend Caswell discussing it, and Reverend TK for bringing it on. But I wanted to make that comment and to thank you. I think this is something you definitely might want to bring again and again a few times so that it is well discussed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I think you take note of that, Dr. Kaswa, and your response, you're able to respond. Okay, good. Pastor Israel from Kenya. Pastor Israel, okay. Yes, Pastor Israel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here now, sir.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Dr. Caswell, for this thought-provoking presentation. And it's also a kind of, you are coming close to the kind of harshness I'm expecting in this kind of presentation. It's very close, but I can say like 90%, so I appreciate this. That's the first thing I want to appreciate. Something happened in our nation, in this nation I am today in Kenya, this morning. There's a debate that is going on about the president building a church, a mega church, not just a church, a mega church, a church of around 8,000 capacity in the State House. So the nation started debating yesterday, why church, why this in the State House? The nation is all religion nation, something like that. And at the end of the day, he came out and said, his money is what he used to build the church. Okay, if he used money from his pocket to build the church, is the State House his house or his land? That's the second question. This same man is the one who used the church to get into power. He came to each church, he would give the leaders money, preach a talk there. He had a slogan then, Sio uchawi ni maombi. Sio uchawi ni maombi means it is not witchcraft, but it is prayer. So the church believed him until majority of the church voted for him. In fact, I know a pastor who will walk from our house in a kind of 7 to 10 kilometers distance to go and pray for him to become president. Immediately he came in, one of the laws he has enacted is that the church now should begin to pay taxes, which was not there in this nation. That is one aspect. That is now political. This thing has been a kind of the church want him, they don't want him. Now the fight between the leader and the public. Now I thank God for the word that's of Dr. Caswell that says, what are we going to leave to the next generation, the younger generation? Are we going to give them what they want, or are we going to give them what they need? I think what they need is what we really need to know about, including the church, because I'm a pastor. So I have to talk about mine. I wouldn't want to get distracted with the political thing. Now, being a pastor, I have worked in like 3 countries before I settled in Kenya. One of the reasons why I don't have a mega church today, because I used to have one. One of the reasons why I don't have the mega church today was because I saw an opportunity to get to the political space in Kenya, where I prayed for like 5 of the top political leaders who formed an alliance, who felt like the pastors in the nation are partial. That because I'm a foreigner here, so they will be able to give me a chance to pray for them. This is what I did, and then the matter got to the headquarters where I came from that sent me here the first time, and then they began to say that I joined politics, and that is why I was cast down. Everything was taken from me. Let me leave that one. But what shocked me was that the same headquarters was where we sponsored the current governor of Lagos State. Now, we look at this kind of thing. I want to ask a question that, especially for those of us who are well educated among us, the top elites among us, I want to ask, do we also have the same heart? Because I know everything that Dr. Caswell is saying comes from one, love and selflessness. That is the only way we can achieve it. Until we are selfless, we cannot get there. Are we also selfless as we are studying, as we are learning? Are we also selfless that we are going to give it or get it down to the younger generation, that they will see that we are equal both black, male, female, race, whatever the race may be, where we came from, are we raising the next generation? Are they seeing us like we are one? Are we one? There's a young man, I want to conclude with this. There's a young man in Nigeria who is called, is a singer. I want to remember his name. I heard about his story very well because I met his teenage teacher when he was a teenager. This young man said they were teenagers together with their bishop's children when they were growing. Then bishop sent his own close friend among his children, among the children of the bishop, to America to study. When this guy came back, one day they came home celebrating. As they were celebrating with their friend, so the guy went out to play with them, and then the bishop called the guy and told him in their presence that, listen, now you are no longer in this class. This is no longer your class. Please leave. Come inside. You have now upgraded, you've been upgraded, so you don't belong to this class anymore. So this guy said that was how he left the church. And then his mother, who was selling roast maize and things like that to raise them, now continue to pray to God. As we talk today, the guy is also a superstar. I think they call his name Eben. Yeah, he's a singer, Eben. Now, I want to ask, sir, as a church or as church leaders, please, I may not talk to the other side of leadership, but as a church leader, are we having it in mind that we need to build the people before we build the church? As we build, because part of what he's saying is that we need to learn how to let people know that we are equal, that they will have the confidence and they will be able to present themselves as people who are not inferior or superior to anyone, as image of God. Are we also preparing the church that way? Are we raising the people, or we are building the structure which we call churches today? So my own conclusion, sir, is that how do we bring that into the church? That we can make everyone who comes to the church to see that is one like us, and how we can relate the church in Africa to the church in the other part of the world. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Israel. Okay, I hope Dr. Kaswa, good. Brother James from Uganda. Brother James, okay.
Yes, good morning.
Morning to you.
Thank you. I hope I'm loud and clear to everyone.
Sure, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, TK. I still owe this to you and Christopher, who brought me to this platform. And every time a thought is brought, my heart is overwhelmed with joy. And I want to thank Doctor this very morning. And I continue to pray that I make a plan to friends that tomorrow, if I become a good leader, I will owe this to this platform and to this ministry of LDI because of what I learn every day. And as we talk of diversity and transformation, my mind as a child still recalls what Africa is and how we want Africa to be, as Doctor was telling us and was explaining. Majority of us today look at diversity, look at transformation, and many times we feel that both can go together, but yet, as he said, it's not. What is the role of the church and what is the role of the political leader to transform Africa and remove this diversity? Example of Jesus Christ as a leader, even discriminate women, men of their education system. She did not mind of that. How can we make Africa to be the kind of Africa that can accommodate and make transformation to be real, to make Africa, to make the church not to be the kind of church that we see today, to make our children to come tomorrow and our grandchildren tomorrow to enjoy Africa and have a leadership that cannot think of diversity, but thinks of transforming each and every person from the family background up to the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother James. And yeah, point well taken. At this time, I want to ask Dr. Caswell to respond to those questions. Please.
Beautiful.
To you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciations to each and everyone who has so far made a comment. I'm still looking forward to more. I intentionally spoke less, even though I was given more time, because I'm not talking to babies. We're talking to some senior people in Africa. If we are not careful, we're going to give them a placebo effect. Now, I'm married to a medic, and so I've learned a bit about what placebo effect is. That it's not a pill that you think it is. It's a pill that just looks like the other. But it's after a while, you start believing, your mind believes that this is the pill. My dear leaders, leadership, as we all know, does not start from when I'm speaking in international platforms. Starts with self. In fact, I've long embraced a definition that says success to me will be if those who know me the most respect me the best. Whether we're talking issues of women, whether we're talking issues of color, race, I encourage you to consider that these things will not change by themselves. How we treat each other, if it's borrowed, if it's something that was sent to us, exported, if you would, just like, as I mentioned, democracy, maybe it's easy to critique democracy because it was shipped to us. We bought it as it is, uninterrogated. We now don't know what to do with it. Show me any country in the world where this works. Show me any country in the world where democracy has successfully worked in its all variations. What I'm saying to you is, it's not unnatural. Hear the words coming out of my mouth. It's not unnatural to respect women. It's actually natural. You and I respect our mothers, don't we? But it's an unnatural position when we choose to disrespect our spouses. It's not natural, I promise you. In fact, it doesn't have to be an elevation. It doesn't even have to be replacement. We're not looking for replacements here. Men and women should coexist in an environment of self-respect, mutual respect. Someone mentioned in the chat that they've never heard of a first white this, as if they are neutral. That's exactly the point. The fact that you and I could sit here and be comfortable with this classification of race, it doesn't exist. It's not even biologically possible to have races. There's no such thing. The way we are made, we are all. The heart system that is in you, it's in a Chinese man, if you would, or a man from China. So in other words, it's not even biologically making sense. Yet we've bought into it. But it was bought to us, it was brought to us so that we can buy into classism. I see there's someone from India here. I'm sure they could help us understand what the caste system works and functions like. I encourage you, brothers and sisters, to consider that we need to take back, we need to win back our godly mandate. If we function first as God's people, humans made in the image of God, consider that. We are not, check it, God does not have grandchildren. He doesn't. We have grandchildren. God does not have grandchildren. We are all God's children. Each one of us, male and female, whether from the north or the south. And if that could become our first position to engage with each other as bearers of the image of God, man, oh man, would we not come down and break down so many walls we've built, so many partitions we've built? to actually see each other. Here at home, there's a greeting from one of our languages. When we see each other, we say sawubona. That simply means I see you. I see you. How often have you walked into the room and not see others? Because they must see you, isn't it? How often we walk around and we expect to be greeted and not to greet others? So maybe I may offer to you something from South. I don't know if there's a lot of things good from South Africa, but here's something else good. Sawubona. I see you. Can we see each other? Can we see our children? Can we see the women? Can we see the men? Can we see the young people? So, on that, I invite you all, and again, we still have enough time. I saw Dr. From Nigeria. I enjoyed, at least he had his face there. So I knew how he was responding. I really look forward to his response. But I'm hoping we can come back and walk out of here, not just with practical steps, which I really want to provide, but with an interrogative mind that says, if this is our last dance, it's our last position, what will the world miss if we are no longer here? What would have created, what would have done different? I don't think that's out there. I don't think the people I'm looking for are somewhere in the world, but they're here. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Julius, I think, is having
yes, I see that it keeps coming and going.
Yeah, going. Well, Dr. Caswell, thanks for this response. As we are working towards wrapping up tonight at this morning's section, possibly just one more, if there's any. I saw somebody by the name to Sana. You raise up your hand. Do you have a comment or want to? Yeah, please. I want to give you opportunity. Please go ahead.
Thank you. This is Ayoshana from South Africa. I just had a question, and my question came through as we was talking about. There was a question that was raised about the church, or it was a comment about the church being built by the president. Now, my question is, as leaders, how do we then influence when we are in spaces of influence? How is our influence not seen? How is it not visible? Because if I am able to whisper to the ear of the president, I'm able to whisper to the ear of the minister, as a Christian, as one who believes in Christ and is a follower of Christ, what am I whispering? Because I think that also has a lot to do with disrupting transformation. If I'm whispering what seems to be issues of my own stomach, I am disadvantaging the entire system that was meant to change things or to transform things. Those of us who are in this room, how do we then change that system, or those that are able to, representing God, that are whispering in the ears of presidents, yet at the same time, they are accepting brown envelopes and they're thinking only of their stomach. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, my sister. Here is a here's a position I would like to leave with us. We each have to settle in our hearts that the positions, responsibilities, and influences God has allowed us and given to us are a resource, and they require stewardship. Put it differently. If you give a crook power, he or she can only do what a crook can do. How dare we expect? We have done that. We have allocated, given to people with characters that are questionable, giving them power, yet we expect them to act otherwise. Yet you ask a powerful question, my sister. If I have the responsibility to speak to the ear of the president, what am I representing? Well, transformational leadership such dictate that in any space I'm in, I transform that space. Now, the truth is, I will not be able to transform anything that I'm not. I can only duplicate, I can only multiply from the abundance of who I am. I want to challenge that many who claim to be Christians, many who claim they are off this way, somehow they have sold and bought, if you would, sold and bought certain identities that have betrayed who they are. Because truth be told, many of you would tell me better to say, listen, it's difficult to be in those spaces, survive in those spaces, and still be integrous. Yes, you will be right to tell me that reality. But you know what's the problem? It's not that you can't be integrous. It's the fact that you start wanting what they have. You start wanting to eat like them, walk like them, talk like them. What I'm saying, and as somebody nicely mentioned that maybe I was 90% aggressive, maybe let me add the last 10%. It requires self-sacrifice. And that's not something that we all want to do. I'll be honest with you and tell you, man, it's comfortable to walk into those boardrooms. Man, those chairs sit comfortably. Man, I've drank tea before, but the tea that comes in the boardroom, man, it tastes nice. It's nice to wake up and somebody orders your day. But brother, my sister, if that becomes how you sell your soul, it will soon vanish. And you will be exactly like the very same systems you disgustingly looking at. So in other words, our problem is not from without. It's right here before us. And this happens in the church circles, in business settings. I thank you. Over to you, Chair.